Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're going to read a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, which is also part of our prayers and glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam. So I thought I'll just discuss that glorification while we're discussing this verse today. I was waiting for the translation.
Yes.
Hindi, Russian, Chinese, Puerto Rican. So today we'll read Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, Chapter 7, The Son of Drona Punished, and it's text number 7, 177, Srimad Bhagavatam. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Simply by one's giving submissive oral reception to this Vedic literature, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam, then the feeling for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion, and fearfulness. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. There are various senses of which the ear is the most effective. This sense this sense works even when a man is deep asleep. One can protect oneself from the hands of an enemy while awake, but while asleep, one is protected by the ear only. The importance of hearing is mentioned here in connection with attaining the highest perfection of life, namely getting free from suffering from the threefold miseries. Everyone is full of lamentation at every moment. He is after the mirage of illusory things, and he's always afraid of his supposed enemy. These are the primary symptoms of the material disease. Full of lamentation every moment, always running after the mirage of illusory things and material enjoyment, always afraid of our supposed enemy. These are primary symptoms of material disease, material consciousness. And it is definitely suggested herein that simply by hearing the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam, one becomes attracted and gets attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. As soon as this is genuinely affected, then the symptoms of the material disease disappear. Srila Vyasadeva saw the all-perfect personality of Godhead. And in this statement it is clearly confirmed that the all-perfect personality of Godhead is Sri Krishna. The ultimate result of devotional service is to develop genuine love for the Supreme Personality. Love is a word which is often used in relationship with a man and a woman. And love is the only word that can be properly used to indicate the relation between Lord Krishna and the living entity. The living entities are mentioned as Prakriti in the Bhagavad Gita, and in Sanskrit, Prakriti is a feminine object to be enjoyed. The Lord is always described as the Parama Purusha, or the Supreme Male Personality. Thus, the affection between the Lord and the living entity is something like that between the male and the female. Therefore, the term love of Godhead is quite appropriate. Loving devotional service to the Lord begins with hearing about the Lord. There is no difference between the Lord and the subject matter heard regarding Him. The Lord is absolute in all respects, and thus there is no difference between Him and the subject matter heard about Him. Therefore, hearing about Him means immediate contact with Him by the process of vibration of transcendental sound. The transcendental sound is so effective that it acts at once by removing all material affections mentioned above. As mentioned before, a living entity develops a sort of complexity by this material association, asatsanga. That's how we become so complex, because of asatsanga. Our own or someone else's. And the illusory encagement of the material body is accepted as an actual fact. Under this false complexity, the living entities or the living beings under different categories of life, they become illusioned in different ways. Even in the most developed stage of human life, the same illusion prevails in the form of many isms and divides the loving relation with the Lord, and thereby divides the loving relationship between man and man. By hearing the subject matter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, this false complexity of materialism is removed, and then real peace in society begins, which politicians, they aspire for so eagerly in so many political situations, that everybody wants peace, real peace. The politicians, they want a peaceful situation. Of course, that's debatable, right? They want a peaceful situation. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they want a peaceful situation. They want a peaceful situation between man and nation, but at the same time, because of too much attachment for material domination and wanting to enjoy, instead there is just illusion and fearfulness. Therefore, the politicians' peace conferences, they cannot bring about peace in the society. It can only be done by hearing the subject matter described in the Srimad Bhagavatam about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. The foolish politicians, they may go on holding their peace and summit conferences for hundreds and hundreds of years, but they will always fail to achieve real peace and real success. Until we reach the stage of reestablishing our lost relation with Krishna, the illusion of accepting the body as the self, that will just prevail, that will just go on. And thus, this fearfulness, it will also prevail. So if we stay in the illusion that we are this body, then therefore the fear that we're always feeling fear and anxiety, that will also go on like that, as long as we're in this bodily conception. As for the validity of Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are hundreds and thousands of evidences from revealed scriptures, and there are hundreds and thousands of evidences from personal experiences of devotees in various places like Vrindavan, Navadvip, and Puri. Even in the Kaumudi dictionary, the synonyms of Krishna are given as the son of Jashoda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. para Brahman. So the conclusion is that simply by hearing the Vedic literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, one can have direct connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and thereby one can attain the highest perfection of life by transcending worldly miseries, illusion, and fearfulness. These are the practical tests for one who has actually given a submissive hearing to the readings of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Jnana-tamarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshamitam Jana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So Prabhupada said these are the practical tests for one who has actually given submissive hearing to reading and studying, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So we can say, well, I was hearing, I heard the class, I know, I can remember the topic, I can remember what was being discussed. Some people have even better hearing or better remembrance. They can give you even word for word what they heard. But the real test is, how much is the bodily conception leaving us? How much is fear and anxiety leaving us? How much lamentation? We're always lamenting. Material consciousness means hankering, always hankering for that which we don't have in the future, in the future. And then because we can't get it, we're disappointed. Or you got it and you lost it, then you're lamenting. So material life means always hankering and always lamenting. That is a symptom of material bodily consciousness. So if we are just always hankering and lamenting, here it's talking about lamenting. Prabhupada said, the living entity, everyone is full of lamentation. Oh, why did I do that? How did I do that? How did I get that? How did I lose that? Why did I make that decision? Right? Constantly, we're just constantly lamenting, right? Because all the decisions, faulty decisions that we made led to our suffering condition. So we're just suffering and we're saying, oh, this is why that happened. This is why I'm suffering. If this didn't happen, I wouldn't be like this. I wouldn't be in this suffering condition. So this is a symptom of tamagun. The Shudra mentality is always lamenting, constantly. And when we're not busy lamenting all at every moment, then we get a little break because we're hankering for something else, which in the future will be the cause of our lamentation. So we're either lamenting or hankering for that which later will be the cause of our lamentation. So that's how we're busying ourselves on the bodily mental platform. These are our thoughts, these are our anxieties, these are our fears, this is what's so disturbing. How could I be so stupid? Why did I make this decision? How I got cheated like that? Right? Now I'm suffering like anything. So hankering, lamenting. Sound familiar? So Prabhupada says every moment, everyone is full of lamentation at every moment. Then we're always running after the mirage of illusory things. Oh, I'm looking for the love of my life, right? I'm looking for my soulmate. I just want to settle down and have a peaceful, happy life in a temporary, miserable place. Krishna says, I made this place to be temporary and miserable. And what are we trying to do? We're trying to make it steady, permanent, and blissful. So we're competing against how Krishna designed this place. And then when it turns out to be temporary and miserable, we're just lamenting, oh, it's temporary and miserable, like it's some big surprise. Isn't it? Like, I'm so shocked this happened to me. I never could have saw this coming. How this can be happening to me. I'm a good person. I love people. Right? So we're always constantly, this is material consciousness. So if we say we're hearing, yes, I'm hearing my chanting, I'm hearing the Bhagavatam class, but Prabhupada said the test is, The practical test is, for one who has actually submissively heard, is that they're no longer lamenting. They're no longer hankering. You think you're hearing nicely, right? But are you lamenting and hankering, always hankering for material enjoyment, material pleasure, name, fame, adoration, power, position, sense gratification, isn't it? So that means not really hearing. Although apparently we're hearing. But the test is, Prabhupada says, the practical test. This is a practical test. How much is all of this thing leaving us? Because it says if you hear properly by Krishna's mercy, then all of these things will disappear from you. You'll stop lamenting. You'll stop blaming. Right? Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Right? Always in the past. Right? Oh, why did I do that? Oh, I had that, then I lost that. Oh, I could never achieve that. Oh, right? Always in the past. Right? Or in the future, oh, if I could just do this, if I could just get that, if I could just achieve that, then I'll be happy. And it's not coming, so now I'm lamenting. Right? And then so much fear and anxiety, so much uncertainty. Prabhupada said this anxiety is material disease. As long as you're in bodily concept of life, the body by its nature will have fearing tendency. Prabhupada, when he's walking with his devotees, he sees the bird is eating something and going like that. And so Prabhupada said, just see how much fear this bird has. Because he thinks any second, any moment, somebody's going to come and grab him, kill him. So if we're in bodily concept, the body is designed as an animal and it has this fearing propensity. So as long as we are in a bodily concept of life, then this fearing and anxiety will just continue to go on. So if we're not getting free from fear and anxiety, and we're always fearful that some enemy is going to somehow or other disturb us or hurt us or attack us, right? We're always in this kind of fearful, animalistic type of consciousness. That means that we are away from Krishna. We're not depending on Krishna. Krishna has no fear. The closer we get to Krishna, the more the fear goes away, the more the anxiety goes away. As soon as you see fear and anxiety and panic attacks and worry, and that means you're doing all of that because you're not close to Krishna. You're not thinking about Krishna. You're not depending on Krishna. You think you have to protect yourself. You have to make your own plan. This is this is due to asatsanga. This is listening to Maya. Maya's plan, projected plan, is always in the future. Right? So we're either lamenting from the past or Maya's painting a picture of how we're going to enjoy in the future. But Krishna and Krishna consciousness is in the present. It's in the present sense, not the future, not in the past. This is a really nice way to see how Krishna conscious you are. Am I projecting into the future? Even the next 5 minutes? Or half an hour, or 1 hour, or 1 day, or 1 month, or 1 year? Am I projecting away from this present moment of Krishna consciousness? Am I going back into the past and saying, oh, why did I do that? Now I'm suffering. How could I be so stupid? I had it. It was right in my hand and then I lost it. Oh, that's so painful even thinking about it. It's already, even now after so many years, still it's painful. Right? So we're just dwelling in the past or projecting into the future. And the past and the future is all Maya. So if you project on Maya's plan into the future, you're doing that without Krishna. That will put you in complete anxiety, because then you're calculating how will you handle all the complexities and the difficulties and the tests that will come in that plan in the future. So we're completely distracted in an illusion which is created by Maya, that we're listening to, buying into, projecting into the future, and has nothing to do with Krishna. So if you project yourself or bring yourself by your mind, uncontrolled mind, into a place where Krishna is not there, then automatically you'll be in fear and anxiety. That's the symptom. So as soon as you feel fear and anxiety, that means you're moving away from Krishna. So it's a nice impetus to become Krishna conscious. As soon as we can perceive fear and anxiety, that means bodily platform. We're misidentifying with the bodily animalistic platform. With Krishna, Krishna's devotees, there's no fear. That's why Vaikuntha means no fear, no anxiety. So if we are really in Krishna consciousness, means Vaikuntha consciousness, that means no fear and anxiety. Now how do we here in this world put ourselves into Vaikuntha consciousness? So Krishna, he says, I'll bring Vaikuntha to you. I'll come and I'll speak Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. I'll manifest and I'll appear within that topic. That's why it's saying that that topic about Krishna is non-different from Krishna. So if we can somehow stop lamenting in the past and projecting in the future and submissively hear Krishna and about Krishna in the present, then the result will be that all the fear and all the anxiety and all the disturbance will leave us. And then if you become peaceful and happy in that present moment in Krishna consciousness, then that is the higher taste. Why would you leave that and go back to lamenting and suffering your lamentation into the past? Why would you give up peace and happiness with Krishna, hearing about Krishna in Vaikuntha atmosphere, to project Maya's plan in the future, and all you're doing is troubleshooting potential risks or suffering that may come to you in the future, and the whole thing is based on an illusion. It's a madness, it's a foolishness. And so many times we make so many plans, it never happens like that. No, I have this well thought out, every step of the way, everything's gonna be nice, right? I've psychoanalyzed every step, every moment, every part of the plan, perfect plan. And the intelligence, mind, and senses that came up with the perfect plan is all from Maya. It's Maya's plan, not Krishna's plan. So how is Maya's plan going to leave you peaceful and happy, free from hankering, free from lamentation? Impossible. So the idea is that if you become mad for hearing about Krishna, right? We were talking about last night that you become almost like intoxicated by hearing and chanting about Krishna, because then your Krishna consciousness, peace and happiness, that is the drug. So if we hear nicely, hear and chant about Krishna, we get Krishna reciprocation, then that's why Prabhupada said, stay high forever. What does that mean? It means Vaikuntha atmosphere, not LSD atmosphere, narcotic marijuana atmosphere. That's a tamagun. That's a mental speculation platform, bodily platform. So unless we come to soul platform, Vaikuntha consciousness, by associating with Krishna. Now Krishna agrees to manifest in transcendental sound vibration. He's manifesting in holy name, he's manifesting in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. And it says that that name and that transcendental sound vibration is non-different from Krishna. So if we can associate with Krishna through sound, that means we are directly associating with Krishna. Krishna is the source of fearlessness. So all fear and anxiety will leave if we feel shelter and protection from Krishna. So if we're smart enough, conscious enough to realize this fear and anxiety is so disturbing, and no material thing or arrangement is going to solve that fear and anxiety, and instead we take shelter in the hearing and chanting process, praying to Krishna that Krishna, we want to take shelter of you, we want to hear about you, we need your shelter, your protection, your association. With that in mind, if we're sincere and serious, then Krishna agrees that I'll manifest within that transcendental sound vibration. Then, if submissive our reception is there, because Krishna can come in transcendental sound, but if we're not submissive or eager to receive it, that also will not be effective. So Krishna has to manifest there in the sound. The speaker must be able to make Krishna manifest in that sound. Otherwise, if you're not empowered, you cannot do it. You see, Adam, he likes to think he's a preacher, right? He fancies himself. You like my English? He fancies himself as a preacher, right? Srinivas, same. Bodily platform, material consciousness, right? They have no idea what to do, what not to do, what to say, what not to say. And even if they say something that sounds Krishna conscious, it has no spiritual potency. It has no Shakti. So rather than purifying you and helping you to clear everything, their association is asatsanga. Please excuse me, but it's asatsanga. Because all you can generate is material sound vibration. If you're chanting Namaparad, Krishna is not manifesting in your chanting. All your fear, all your anxiety, all your lamentation, all your projections of illusion, of sense gratification is the proof that you're not hearing properly. So if we're not hearing properly, you cannot speak properly. Prabhupada said, whoever heard properly will be a very nice speaker. If you hear nicely, you'll speak nicely. If you heard transcendental sound vibration by mercy of Krishna Parampara, by their mercy you'll generate spiritual sound vibration. That's why one must be empowered to be a preacher. So if you're under false ego, under material modes of nature, can't hear Krishna, can't hear Guru, right? They're not revealing themselves to you. You have no faith. What is the meaning of your preaching? What are you preaching? Srinivas, do you think it's spiritual sound vibration that's coming out of your mouth? Adam, is it spiritual? He can't say because he thinks it's spiritual. All right, I have a question for you. Here's a good test. If what you're saying is spiritual, then why isn't your chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra and your own preaching, why is it not able to even purify yourself? So when you're chanting Hare Krishna, right, are you getting free from all aparads in your chanting? Are you giving up your material attachment and material desires and your material thoughts and your material speculation? Are you giving up your lamentation and feeling sorry for yourself? Are you giving up all your fear and anxiety? Are you giving up listening to Maya's plan? Is that the effect you're getting by your hearing yourself preach and chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra? Prabhupada says the practical test for one who has actually performed this submissive oral reception, will all of these things, miseries, illusion, fearfulness, all of these things will disappear from you. So if you cannot preach or chant Hare Krishna or speak krishna-katha and get those effects for yourself, then how do you think that's going to be effective in helping anybody else? Then what is the meaning of your preaching? If it's not in pure consciousness, it's not empowered, you're not authorized, you have no skill or understanding how to do it, you're just a speculator preaching for sense gratification, for name and fame, wanting to be recognized, wanting to be appreciated, wanting to feel yourself very advanced and very significant. What is the meaning of your preaching? How do you answer that question? But why do we keep thinking that we know and that we have something to say? Why do we believe that what we're thinking and what we're saying has some tangible, practical value? So why do you keep doing it? Why do you keep trying to preach? If your preaching and your chanting cannot purify you and convince yourself to surrender to Guru and Krishna, then how will your so-called preaching purify and convince other souls to surrender to Guru and Krishna? Prabhupada said purity is the force. So if we are not pure and we are not realized and we are not empowered, nobody can be a preacher. But everybody wants to be heard. Everybody's a philosopher. Everybody has something to say. Isn't it? But we never bother to find out if it's so important and it's so valuable, why I cannot take advantage of it myself. Why is it not even purifying myself? And then does the person that you're talking and speaking to, do they have complete transcendental faith in you as a person who's nicely situated in Krishna consciousness? So why are you assuming they even want to hear what you have to say? And are they asking you to preach to them? Do you ask yourself that question? Or you're just like volunteer service, like the Red Cross, right? You're just a volunteer. What do you think? How do you answer it? Huh?
First we must hear properly.
What is it?
First we must hear properly.
If you don't hear properly, even when I was in Bhubaneswar, I kept trying to run away to go preaching. And Maharaj kept saying, if you don't hear properly, you don't get the effects of the hearing, then you won't get faith and practical realization, you won't get the right understanding, then what will you preach? You'll just preach your misconception, what you think is true, what you think you understand. So he kept denying my going for preaching. Okay, he was encouraging that that's nice, you want to help people, but if you don't learn yourself and understand it properly and get the effects of that hearing, then how you're going to explain those effects for somebody else if you haven't even realized it? So first, doctor, heal thyself first, before we're going to try to go and preach to other people. What do you think? Your name is Peter?
Yes.
Peter, what do you think about this? Everybody wants to be a guru, right? Everyone wants to be a philosopher, preacher, teacher. You get that?
Yes, you are right. We should try to become pure ourselves before to do a good preach.
What does it say?
We should try to first learn ourselves before we can preach.
Yeah.
Yes, but at the same time, if I remember well, Prabhupada said, if you are on the process to purification, but you are not still pure, no. But if you preach the message of Krishna without add and without subtract anything, you are doing something perfect.
But if you say,
I mean,
no, I asked you a question. I got your point. You're basically saying that Prabhupada said, okay, even if you're not perfect, if you say the right thing, not adding, subtracting, then still it's right information, right? But Prabhupada said, don't be like a parrot.
yes, of course. I'm telling that at the same time I have to work to purify myself.
Yes.
But the process is even gradual. So I'm in the process. I how do you say? Great desire to serve Prabhupada, preaching, taking part at his mission.
Yeah.
And so, if I try to do this without adding nothing of mine and without subtracting nothing, I'm trying to do my best for the glory of Prabhupada or my guru.
I'll give you an example. What you're talking about, Peter, is before I met my Gurudev, I was reading Prabhupada's books at least 2 hours every day. 2-3 hours a day. For years, I was studying very seriously Srila Prabhupada's books. And I was a preacher. And I was a book distributor. And I was giving lectures. And I was giving classes on a regular basis. And every day I was preaching to devotees what I thought was from Prabhupada's books on teaching. I tried to be as sincere as possible, right? Like you're saying, don't add anything, don't subtract anything, right? Then I met Srila Govinda Swami. And he started to explain what actually is the philosophy from a realized, absolute point of view. Then I came to realize that many things that I thought that I already knew were actually completely wrong. And I was shocked because it was directly confronting what I thought was already understood as being perfectly correct. And I had been preaching that. Then I realized, wow. Because when you hear from someone who actually understands it, many times it's completely opposite of what we read and what we think, because we're using imperfect senses, imperfect eyeballs, imperfect brain, imperfect mind and senses, which are all still contaminated by Maya. And Maya is always twisting everything, we're misunderstanding everything. Guru Krishna say one thing, we're hearing something else. So it's not accurate way to come to understand absolute truth. The absolute truth is Shrotapanta, it's a path of hearing, not reading. So if we hear from someone who truly understands it, by their mercy, we'll understand it, right? So what I found was, wow, many things that I thought I knew that I was preaching was not exactly accurate. So in my mind, I can think it's perfectly understood. I can repeat it without adding and subtracting anything, but the premise, the basic philosophical point, I didn't actually understand it properly. That was one side. Then the other side, even if I did get something right, after hearing from my Gurudev, then I said, okay, I understood it like that. Then I realized how deep is my realization. So then I said, okay, I was saying right thing, but it was very theoretical. And my realization, my practical realization of it was just like academic. I couldn't apply it in any aspect of my life, really. So then I was amazed, because it's not like I just once in a while reading the books. For years and years I'm studying the books, Prabhupada's books. Yeah.
Yes, but your sincerity
Huh?
your sincerity broke you.
Yeah, that's true. So I'm not saying, if you're sincere in your reading, right, in your prayers, then it is true that Krishna will make you an arrangement to bring you to Prabhupada, to bring you to Prabhupada's own man, who can help you to understand it. So there's no loss. But what I'm saying is that if I didn't quite understand it properly, then that means I'm not actually presenting it without adding and subtracting anything. Perfect presentation, then talk about adding or subtracting. Right? So say it's 0 means perfect presentation, right? So if you go +1, +2, +3, right? Or -1, -2, -3, that's adding and subtracting something from perfect. So say perfect absolute knowledge is like, say, 0. So anything material, +1, +2, +3, or -1, -2, -3. But if you're starting out and you're thinking it's absolutely correct, but you're actually at +4, so now you're not deviating, adding anything or subtracting anything, but you're starting off at +4, not on pure absolute platform. So so Prabhupada said, if you're starting off your equation 1 + 1 = 3, then you can do all the math sincerely, but you'll still get a wrong answer, because the basis, the foundation was not correct. We were not hearing from Krishna, Krishna Parampara, Shastra. We're hearing from material intelligence, material mind, material sense perception. So is everything that we're hearing on material platform, can we honestly say that that's understood absolutely? So that's what I realized, that what I thought I knew, many of it was actually not correct. And then the things that I did get right, after hearing from somebody who has very deep faith and realization, I realized that what I did get right was very shallow. It was correct, but it was very theoretical, and it was not very deep. It wasn't deeply realized. So that's why my Gurudev is saying is, if you want to be sincere in your preaching. That's very good. But first receive it, understand it, realize it accurately. And then when that guru says, okay, this person's heard me, he's understood it, he's realizing it, he has faith, he has proper understanding of the philosophical concept, he has the ability to present that perfect knowledge without adding and subtracting, then that guru will say, okay, now you're trained to go and speak absolute truth. So that's why Prabhupada was so frustrated, because he said, I'm making all of these books for you, and I'm translating everything for you, but you're not reading, you're not properly understanding it, right? You're misunderstanding it. And Prabhupada said purity is the force, so you're not pure, right? Yeah.
Now I got because it's so important to hear.
Yes.
To exchange, to hear the realization of higher souls than you.
Yes.
I mean.
Yes.
No.
Because I was you. I was in that same position, that I sincerely am studying, I'm sincerely reading, I'm sincerely want to help people. I'm not trying to mislead them. I'm trying to be as accurate as possible. So I'm not questioning the sincerity. I'm just questioning the practical application scientifically. So I was already just reading and studying and preaching. So I know what that means. And I saw how far I got just by that process. Then I heard from somebody who realizes it in a very deep way. And then I could see, my God, this is like heaven and hell difference between what I was reading and now what I'm hearing. It was like another world opened up to me. The whole Srimad Bhagavatam purports. My Gurudev, he would be talking for hours, and he would say, yeah, Prabhupada says right here. And then he would point to like one sentence, and he unpacked one sentence for 2 hours. He gave a whole class on one sentence, on 2 words. So yes, I read that sentence and I gathered what I could out of that, logically, according to my, limited, academic mind. But then I just listened to someone who made that sentence come alive for me. So he opened up the whole, like it brought you into a realm that you never could have come to just by reading it. So that's why I say I know the difference. So I'm not discouraging people from reading, right? We're not discouraging people from giving up the desire to preach. It's only, my Gurudev said, just learn how to be qualified. Then preach. Then now you're preaching with realization, faith, right? Yeah. Tell me.
And strength.
Huh?
And strength.
And strength.
Strength, yeah. If you have knowledge and realization, you will be very strong in what you're saying. My Gurudev, he was so 100% convinced that it was convincing. So there was not one question that anybody could ask him that he didn't 100% establish the absolute truth. And he'd not let in one speck of anything material. No compromise. So if you hear from someone like that, then your vision, it says that when you hear like that, you can then decipher what is material subtly or grossly and what is absolute truth. So if you get mercy of Krishna and Krishna Parampara and Shastra, you will hear and understand absolutely perfectly. And Prabhupada said, everything else you hear separate from that is Maya. So if we don't get mercy of Krishna, Krishna Parampara, and the Shastra, we have no access to that knowledge, absolute knowledge. Now you're somewhere in relativity trying to measure another aspect of relativity. So first you have to get into transcendental platform. Then from that vantage point, then you can see how everything else is relative. But if we're floating in relativity and analyzing what is relative and what is absolute, and we're not on absolute platform, then the whole thing is faulty. So we have to be picked up by the mercy of Krishna and Sadhu Guru Vaishnava and brought to that place, that platform of perfect knowledge from perfect source. Now you have the measuring instrument to see how close or accurate is that presentation or that knowledge to the absolute truth. Once you have absolute, called tattva vichar, absolute consideration, then now you can measure what is apparent consideration, what is some contamination, gross or subtle, in front of the absolute truth. But if we don't get there, we have no way to really measure anything. And that didn't come, it doesn't come by reading, because we're still using imperfect, contaminated mind and senses to try to get access to absolute platform. But Krishna says, if you try to approach me and understand me by karma, jnana, yoga, I'll hide myself from you. Only by pure bhakti will I reveal myself to you. So no one can understand the Srimad Bhagavatam without bhakti, without sufficient pure bhakti consciousness. It doesn't reveal itself. So we're trying to use scholarship and reading and studying and philosophical research work, right? That can maybe bring you to the threshold of bhakti. Then that's all right, if it brings you to bhakti. But now we still have to we need to gain access to transcendental realm, fourth dimension. That means personalities from fourth dimension have to make you fourth dimensional. That's why Krishna says, I give you divine eyes. I give you divine ears. Then you can see me. Then you can hear me. So without Krishna's mercy and Krishna's devotee mercy, we'll not have fourth dimensional senses. So we're trying to understand fourth dimensional topic with three-dimensional instruments. That's problem. And because of pride and because of arrogance, we think we can do it. If I just study enough, if I just concentrate enough, if I just use my brain enough. But Krishna says, if you try to do it that way, that means you think you have the power and intelligence to go into fourth dimension. But if you realize I don't have anything that will bring me access to that platform, only I can try to be eager and greedy and cry for mercy from the personalities on that platform, then they can bless us with spiritual mind, intelligence, and senses. Then you can see, then you can hear it, then you can understand it. Yeah.
Yes.
You like that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good one?
Yes. No, I mean that, yes, this is the reason for Bhaktivedanta Swami said that Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita has to be discussed by devotees.
Yeah. Yeah, this is...
And each one of us should stay in his room with the Prabhupada's books, but the important point is exchange
Yes.
each other
Yeah.
our realizations.
Yeah.
Now I got.
Yeah, Prabhupada said you should always seek, right, as advanced association as possible. So if you have much more advanced person than we are, then by their mercy, we can become advanced. So I had the greatest fortune because I heard from a personality who is topmost devotee, who perfectly understands what is happening on transcendental platform, who's coming from Goloka Vrindavan, who's coming from that place. So I had such a great fortune because I heard and learned from somebody who was perfect Premi Bhakta, who had complete unflinching faith. So if I just learn how to do submissive aura reception and I somehow please that personality, then his faith and his realization and his understanding, he can transfer that to you through sound, through transcendental sound vibration. So when I first came to Bhubaneswar, every day Maharaj was talking about hearing, 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 always emphasizing hearing. And I kept thinking, why Maharaj always talking about hearing? Because he understood he has everything. Krishna transcendental sound means everything is there in his sound. But if he can't get us to receive it through hearing, we'll not be able to be benefited. So he kept saying, I have the perfect, unflinching, unfailing medicine. But if I can't get it inside of you through hearing, then how will you realize these effects? Not possible. So now people say, well, I'm hearing Prabhupada when I'm reading. But Prabhupada says, from the lips to the ear. Can I read you a couple quotes of that? Because it's very much on this point that the transcendental sound vibration generated by Krishna pure devotee, that sound is non-different from Krishna. So Krishna is trying to enter in to our consciousness through transference of that transcendental sound. But if we don't know how to learn how to receive it by being greedy for it, eager for it, perfectly anxious to get it, like perfectly inquisitive, greedy. Yeah, so if you're greedy, this is a really, really, really nice qualification. Because if someone is a teacher, even just from practical point of view, if you're a teacher and you have a student who is so greedy, that teacher who loves teaching will be so pleased having such a student like that. And although all the students are there, all the students are hearing the presentation, the students who are so greedy, he's practically just giving that class to that student. Everyone else is getting some benefit, no doubt, but he's pouring everything into that humble, eager, greedy, respectful, appreciative student. And my Gurudev used to say, you see, you're hearing, but for your own pleasure. What about hearing as a service? Right? 9-fold processes of bhakti, 9 types of service towards Krishna. The first one is Shravana, means hearing. That means it's supposed to be done in a mood of service. So that just for example, like one example of the subtleties of hearing. Then I said, oh, that really makes a lot of sense. We're saying, okay, what can I get? What can I hear? How can I enjoy? What is interesting to me? This complete flipped it around. Actually, I'm hearing for the pleasure of my Guru. I'm doing it as a service because he wants to preach. He wants to give Krishna. So if I become perfect student for his pleasure and he's able to do his service, I'm automatically going to get benefit by his mercy, by that process. So we call it the art of hearing. And I was so surprised because when I first came, every day he's talking about hearing, hearing, hearing. I said, why Maharaj always talking about hearing? And this is why. Because he can't give you Krishna unless you learn how to hear. It can't be injected. That's why he has it. He wants to give it to you. But we're not hearing it because false ego, because of mental speculation, because we're stupid, we're lazy, we think we already know, we have pride, we have arrogance. Or if I hear this, then now that's a threat to my material life. So what about my wife, my children, my bank balance, my family, my plans? So then we're like, oh, it seems very confusing. It's not confusing, but because we don't want to hear it, then Maya just says, oh, this is very confusing, isn't it? We're like, yeah, this is very confusing. It's very subtle. You know, it's too technical. It's tedious. Right? It seems very complicated. But if someone is very simple and very greedy to hear Krishna, in one moment they can understand it. It's crystal clear. So if you see in Bhagavatam, you know, the preacher, whether Krishna incarnation, Krishna devotee, they always say, because you pleased me, therefore, I'm going to give you everything. Because you please me, whatever benediction you want, you can ask right now from me. Because you please me, I'm going to explain everything to you, which will take away all inauspiciousness, all ignorance, all suffering, every problem you have will immediately be taken away from you because you pleased me by your mood, by how you're approaching me, by your surrender, by your respect of the subject matter, by your greed or eagerness or extreme inquisitiveness, not to just be interesting to know, but I have to know. I must know. I must understand it. That kind of greed. So if you're like that, then Krishna devotee, pure devotee, will explain everything to you. 100%, sure. Now, if Krishna convinces you, then you'll be so strong because Krishna convinced you. You're not speculating, you're not on mental platform, you're not on false ego platform, you're not wishful thinking platform, jnani platform, sentimental platform, you're on soul platform. So unless we come onto soul platform, how is Krishna going to convince our soul? So how we're going to get onto that platform? We need mercy from Krishna, and Krishna is pure devotee. Who gets that mercy? Those who are crying, greedy, eager to know. I must know, I have to know. I'm begging you to explain this to me. That kind of inquisitiveness. Prabhupada says perfect anxiety, perfectly anxious to know. So if it's not working, if we're not getting all of these effects and benefits, that means that we're not approaching it with the right mood, with the right understanding, with the right pre-qualification. Therefore, we're not able to get the mercy of Krishna, of the Shastra, of that Guru. And whole thing, Prabhupada says, all the benefit that can come from the spiritual master, every favor that he can bestow upon you will all be delivered through your ear. That's why it's so important, this hearing process, this Shravanam. He says, right, Prabhupada said in the first line of this purport, there are various senses of which the ear is the most effective. So Prabhupada said, everyone is thinking seeing is believing, that seeing with your eyeballs is most effective way to get knowledge. But actually, most effective way is your ears. So that was to me completely like revolutionary. That instead of just trying to stare at something with your eyeballs to understand it, rather pray to Krishna internally. Krishna says, I'm source of all knowledge and intelligence. I'm in your heart. So pray very internally, very seriously. Put unflinching faith in Krishna. Ask Krishna, please help me how to understand this thing. And then Krishna says, touch Trinu, hear from me. So Krishna says, I will manifest in that transcendental sound vibration and I will explain it to you, not directly, but through the purifier medium of the Guru. So if you can find a purifier medium sent by Krishna and you're greedy to hear from Krishna, that's a perfect. Now you have the pre-qualification, the eagerness, and now you have the instrument, the purifier medium instrument. So now Krishna said, now I'll speak through that person and I'll confirm everything to you from within your heart. That's perfect hearing. So if you hear like that, that means Krishna is directly preaching to your soul. That's perfect hearing. That's why it says the Srimad Bhagavatam is non-different from Krishna. So if you can hear Krishna when the Guru is speaking, that is perfect hearing. If you think, oh, this person, that's his presentation, that's his intelligence, or that's his way of explaining it, if you're thinking like that, you're missing the point of submissive awe reception from purifier medium. It means hearing directly from Krishna. So how do you know if it's Krishna? Because Krishna will tell you it's him. It's not like, was that Krishna? Or was that my mind? Right? Krishna will make it clear. If you really are greedy to hear from Krishna, and he sends you a purifier medium of a guru, where Krishna will manifest and speak through, he'll make it clear to you whether those words are coming from him or not. He'll convince your soul that is meant for you. Every word of every class is meant for every soul. Every word of every class is meant for every single soul. But who can hear that? I remember one time I was giving a class in Bhubaneswar, and I was preaching. I was looking at this devotee whole time. I'm preaching, right, trying to explain everything. And then afterward I said, did you like the class? He said, yeah, that was great. You really let those Indian devotees have it. You really straightened out those Indian devotees. I said, that whole class, I was speaking to you. And he was like, really? That was meant for me? Yeah. Every bit of truth is meant for every soul. Now, how can we hear it, and how do we apply that truth? That is what is to be understood. So when I was listening to Krishna through my guru, I felt like that whole class was directly meant for my soul. I don't know what other people were hearing. I don't even care whether they were hearing or not hearing, understanding, not understanding. That's between them and Krishna. I always walked out of the class that Krishna so mercifully was directly speaking to my soul, explaining everything, answering all my questions, reconciling all of the different technicalities of the philosophy, destroying my doubts, answering my question. That's how I was hearing, by the mercy of Krishna, mercy of the Guru. I don't know how other people were hearing. I just felt like the whole world went away. It was my soul, Krishna speaking to me through my Guru. That's what I was hearing. You can believe it or not believe it. Doesn't matter to me. I know what is my faith. I know what was my experience. And then if my Gurudev used to say, the Guru, he knows in whose ear and heart this katha is entering. The Guru knows. And he'll say, he said, and although many people apparently they're listening, they're not really listening. Gurudev said, how many people are really hearing Krishna? Very few. And he said, why? Because they're completely on mental platforms, sentimental platform. They're just listening to a stupid mind, material desires, material attachments. They're thinking husband, wife, mother, father, son, daughter, girlfriend, boyfriend, bank balance. Right? Their mind is stolen. My Gurudev said your mind is stolen by illusion. So Krishna is trying to directly talk to you, and your Maya has stolen your mind, and you're listening to some other thing. So that's why he said very few people are actually able to hear Krishna directly because of the stupid mind, false ego. So let Krishna train you. Let Krishna give you intelligence and faith and realization and strength and empower you. Now you can become preacher. Before that, what are we going to preach? Half of it is probably misunderstood, and the other part, it's like very shallow understanding. It's not going to be impactful. It's not going to like jolt the person. Oh, you're not your body. Oh, okay, we're not our body. Technically correct. But did you make that person you're preaching to come off of his bodily platform? That's a totally different level. So my Gurudev said your theoretical understanding is not actually real. Because it's still, theoretical understanding means it's on your material mind, intellect, and senses. So when you hear from the soul platform, and you're hearing directly from Krishna, who's on transcendental soul platform, Now that's perfect hearing. Then you'll get perfect realization and faith of the subtlety of how that science works. Now you can explain it from soul platform, not from intellectual false ego platform. If somebody speaks from their mind, the best they can do is speak to your mind. If someone's speaking from intellectual platform, the best they can do is speak to your intellectual platform. But if someone speaks from soul platform, then they have the ability to talk to you as a soul. They're not talking to your mind, your intelligence, your body. They're talking directly to your soul. Isn't it?
Yes, yes.
That only that person can be preacher. So who can speak to your soul? And Krishna will tell you who's speaking to your soul. That's a preacher. Otherwise, what is the meaning of the preaching? How much potency will be there? Sometimes people say, well, Prabhupada said, just repeat. They say the first part of the statement, Prabhupada said, just repeat, don't add anything, don't subtract anything. But Prabhupada in the second part of the statement says, but purity is the force, and don't repeat just like a parrot. I'm just repeating. Right? I heard one Maharaj, he said like that, and he was very proud of it. And he was saying, you know, I'm like parrot. I'm just repeating. Not adding, not subtracting. And then I said, Maharaj, but Prabhupada, didn't he say, don't be like a parrot? And then he became like furious at me. He was so proud, he said, I'm just like parrot. You see, I'm just repeat as it is, don't add anything, don't subtract anything. And he was very proud of it. And that's why you should accept it, because he's just like a parrot.
A parrot.
Right? So I said, but Maharaj, you know, didn't Prabhupada say, don't be like a parrot? And his face was just like, it was so I ask these questions sometimes on purpose, you know. And because I love to watch the Maharaj's reaction, you know.
Maharajas.
I love it. It's like my entertainment. It's a little perverse, but it is very entertaining. And then he was like you just totally messed up his whole worldview, you know, of himself, you know. It's like you just knocked out the pillars of the building, you know. And he's just like, you know, he's trying to keep the thing above ground, you know. It's like, you just like come in, no problem. You just dismantled, you know, all of his so-called foundations of faith, which is all built on illusion. That's what the absolute truth will do. And unless you know that, you can't dismantle their false foundation. Unless you have real foundation. So if I say, look, you have a lot of faulty foundations, it's not going to help you. Then you get scared. Well, this is all I know. What to do? This is all I know. Okay, we're going to put some strong foundations there for you. Real faith. Then once that's established, this other thing, then you can get rid of it. Right? So some engineer comes in, he looks at your house, he says, okay, nice house, but the foundation completely useless. So okay, let's just jack it up. We'll put nice strong foundation for you. Then we'll just knock down all of these other old faulty foundation. Then you're like, okay, nice. But if you have nothing solid and somebody's coming in and just chopping away at your other so-called foundation, you're going to be like, whoa, 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 wait a second, whoa, 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 whoa. You'll be in complete anxiety because you have nothing to build it on. So good engineer, he says, okay, I'm going to give you foundations of faith, and then what you think is faith, you'll see that it's compared to real faith, it's actually faulty. It's either misunderstood or sentimental, Hare Krishna, or not, you can't build anything on it because it's not deep enough. It's like having like a nice foundation pillar, but it's just lying on the floor. You have to be able to take that, put it in place, and then jack up the building and rest on top of it. You have to know how to apply it as well. So you need a strong foundation of truth, and then how do you apply it? And unless we hear from somebody who knows it, it will remain like a mystery or very confusing. So I heard from perfect personality who understands all of these things. And after so many years of hearing from him, then he said, okay, now go to America, open a temple, preaching center, and preach boldly, fearlessly, strongly. No compromise. Don't hesitate. But you speak exactly what you heard and what you realized from me, Prabhupada. So then I'm just trying to do that. So that's nice. People want, I want to be preacher. But Gurudev said, you know, just learn how, Gurudev said, learn how to do it most effectively. Like that. All right? Yeah. So I could see my Gurudev was happy that I was in the mood like I want to help people. And you have an inclination for preaching and speaking. So he didn't kill that inspiration. He said, that's very good. But first, load yourself up. Fill yourself up with the realized faith and knowledge and understanding, then go and preach. Then it's perfect combination. That's what we tried to do, yeah. Yeah?
Yes. For what is my understanding, when the realized soul say we are not this body,
Yeah.
have an impact on the platea.
Yeah.
No. But if I say that I have not realized that I'm not this body,
Right.
there's not real impact.
Right.
Someone can understand,
Yeah.
can come to know that we are not the body, but there's no impact because, as you say, my words doesn't come from the soul,
Right.
realized to
Right.
soul.
Right. So technically it's right, what you're saying, but it's not on soul platform. That's why Prabhupada said purity is the force, because if you're pure, means soul platform, you will be directly empowered and you'll get direct intelligence from Krishna how to build faith in somebody. If that connection is not there with Krishna, means we can't hear Krishna because lack of purity, then we'll not be able to know what to say, when to say, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. You see, other day we had this one devotee, he's a yogi, right? And I know from the first day I met him, he's yogi. But for a long time I know him, I never said anything about yoga. Because I know he's attached. So Krishna said, okay, just don't get onto that topic. Just make friendship with him, answer his questions, give him nice experience, give him some faith, let him trust that you know what are you talking about, establish Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, that you're speaking authoritatively, not just giving some feeling, emotion, sentimental presentation. Then finally, after a long time, last time we were here, he was also coming. So I'd known him for the last year. Only yesterday, did this topic come up about the yoga? And then he was like, oh, because I know he's attached, right? And then I talked to Adam, and he just meets that guy, and he's just like, this yoga is bad. You should give this up. This is complete nonsense, right? He's just sitting to take prasadam. He just said, hello, Adam, you know. Then Adam's like blasting him how he should give up yoga, right? So he has no idea how to preach because he's not connected with Krishna. He doesn't know what to say, when to say. And instead of purifying and inspiring that guy, he completely contaminated and disturbed him. Now, technically, was what he was saying correct, that this yoga, Prabhupada says, is impediment in bhakti? Yes. But if you're not authorized, you're not empowered, you're not expert, you don't know what to say, when to say, and the person has no faith in you, you'll just agitate them. That's why I keep telling him, you're not a preacher. Stop preaching to people. You're disturbed, you'll just be disturbing. But he's like, but I want to help people. You know, I like preaching. I want to help the people, right? And he's addicted to it, but he doesn't realize he's not helping me. He's not helping me to help the people. He thinks he's like assisting me. I'm like, I have to tell everyone, whatever you do, never listen to this man. Okay? He's complete mental speculator. Okay? Whatever you do, this is official statement, right? Anybody on the video, past, present, or future, you should never listen to one word Bhakti Adam says to you. All right, now is that official enough? Everybody heard it directly, right? He will totally disturb you, contaminate you, bewilder you. What other adjective can I use?
Confused.
Huh?
Confused.
Confused. Yeah, he's confused. He knows. He'll misguide you. He'll give you the wrong medicine for the wrong disease.
Bewilder.
Bewilder. That's another good word. Yeah. So he's like a quack. You know, the doctor's a quack. You know, like a not really doctor. He just puts doctor on his signboard, right? He's not even fit to work on frogs. And you know, in a biological lab, they work on frogs and other like lower life forms. They try to get some expertise. He's even banned from that. Srinivas, what about you? Should there be a universal ban? What does everyone think? Universal ban on Srinivas till he proves something? Huh?
Haribol.
You guys can preach to each other. There's no harm. No harm. Two negatives equal a positive. Two relative speculators crashing together and just exploding into the absolute truth. That's what they're hoping for. And Deva, he can also be part of that team. Yeah. We'll have the gathering of the summit of the world leaders. Russia, China. And you guys can talk about peace. Yeah, you can talk about how to get free from jealousy and enviousness and how to make the world peaceful. So you get three of the most disturbed guys sitting in the summit of peace. The summit of peace. And it'll be a very interesting sociological experiment. One time I had a bunch of devotees, they were not behaving properly. They're all speculating. They're all troubled cases. They're not, don't want to listen to anything, anyone. So I said, oh, I have a great plan. We're going to send all of you together to one location. So we got like the best of the speculators. And we just put them all together in one house. Like, like Big Brother, You have like the video, like reality TV, Like, let's watch how a bunch of envious, speculative, nonsensical, illogical, selfish people, let's see how they interact with each other. And then everyone would be begging to get out of that house. And I'll be like, are you going to behave now? Are you going to not stop being antisocial? You're going to surrender to Krishna, Guru and Krishna? You're going to be humble? Yes, I promise. Promise you. Okay, you can come out of there. Sometimes in Russia, we have a place out in Siberia. We call it the Gulag. Right? So if they're not behaving, then we say, if you're not careful, we're going to send you out to the Gulag. And we don't give them the plane ticket.
Train.
We give them a train ticket, and it's 4 days.
4 days.
4 days of meditating, slow chugging train to the Gulag. This is your reward for non-cooperation with Guru and Krishna. And we have one superintendent of the Gulag out there, Atmaram. He has very special incentives for all of the dysfunctional, antisocial persons who want to be devotees but have no idea how to do it. Then when they're calling like, please, can I get out of here? I said, are you going to be simple and humble and cooperate nicely with the devotees and stop speculating and arguing and yes, I promise. Okay. I think we're going to send Angel out to Siberia. He'll be like the only black man in Siberia. It'll just be like snow, mountains of snow, and Angel. He'll stand out. He'll finally stand out in Siberia. Don't worry, we'll get you a nice jacket. Big, thick jacket. Yeah. You're going to go on that train ride, Angel. And you're going to come back a real angel. You ready? Everyone looks nervous about that train ride right about now. Be careful, Gopal. Siberia, it's cold. 30, 40 below, 0. You never felt cold like that before. Even your eyes, the water in your eyes will turn to ice. When I went there first time, I was like, wow, this place is freezing. And I grew up in an ice rink playing ice hockey my whole life. That was nothing compared to Siberia. Deva, you ready? Gulag? Any other questions? Concerns? Complaints? Yeah?
With this topic I hear, I also do this thing. Hare Krishna Guru.
Haribol.
I also doing this thing same way.
What thing?
Preach.
Preach?
Yes.
You're another preacher? What are you preaching?
What I'm hearing.
What you're hearing?
Yes.
What are you hearing? That's the question.
This is my realization. I can speak to another devotees when I'm hearing from pure souls. you just discuss perfect knowledge come from perfect source, then your knowledge will be perfect. Prabhupada says. I look.
So are you hearing perfectly, perfect knowledge from perfect source?
Yes.
I remember after Gaur Govinda Maharaj, he give class, and then we come out of the class and go take prasad together. And then everyone was talking about the class. And I was so surprised because many times they're speaking some other thing that Maharaj was not actually saying in the class. And I was new, and I was just sitting there saying, wow, how they're saying that Maharaj was saying like that. Maharaj was not saying like that. Then sometimes, after some time, I said, actually, Maharaj was saying like this. And they said, no, that's not right. I said, I'm pretty sure that's correct. No, it's like this. And they're arguing. So sometimes we would go and see Gurudev. And we say, Gurudev, we're just sitting there eating prasadam, and we're a little bit arguing like what we think we heard. And there's some disagreement about what your main point was. And then many times Gurudev will just say again exactly what I was saying. And I was like, see, I told you, you know. I was a little immature back in the day. I was like, yeah, I told you guys, you weren't listening to me. Now I'm trying to be a little more humble. Little bit. But I was amazed because I thought it was very clear. But how they're hearing it in some other kind of way, you know? Then I realized because Maya's still playing there. So if you don't hear on soul platform and Krishna doesn't give you intelligence and faith, and more you're on false ego platform listening to your so-called intelligence, mind and sense perception, she'll just twist everything around. That's why Krishna says you have to get a clear understanding. Without Krishna and without Sadhu, Guru, Vaishnava, mercy, we cannot get a clear understanding. That's why there's all different arguments, disagreement, misconception, like this. So if you want to talk about perfect hearing, you have to hear perfectly. Then you can talk about it. What does it actually mean? Right? If you have faith in the Guru that he's pure via medium, explain how that's true. You can't sit there and doubt the Guru. One day you're like, oh yes, he's my Guru, he's pure via medium. Then the next day it's like, I don't know. Now I'm confused. Now I'm questioning. So if you're accepting one day, rejecting the next day, accepting, rejecting, that means mental platform. But if Krishna convinces you, there's no mental platform. Because Krishna convinced you, convinced your soul. So when Krishna convinces your soul, then you can be preacher. I remember one devotee, godbrother of mine, he loved to preach. He was big, think he was big preacher. And then my Gurudev said to him, he said, Lila Avatar, he's construction man. Lila Avatar Das, your adhikar, your qualification is to bang the nails into the wood. Don't preach. Don't preach. You're not a preacher. But he so much wants to be a preacher. He so much wants to explain everything. But the Guru directly said, don't preach and just bang nails into the wood. That's your qualification. That's your seva. Build the temple. That's perfect for you, but not preaching. But to this day, I guarantee you, he has somebody cornered somewhere preaching to them. Like Adam, right? He gets you into a corner so you can't like escape. You can't go left or right. He just backs you into the corner, you know? And then he just preaches at you till you can't take it anymore. So then he either breaks you or you want to punch him because it's so intolerable. In beginning, it sounds like it's nice. It's like philosophical. He's friendly. Wow, this is. But by the end, you're like, oh, I gotta get away from this guy. Then you're like, hey, you know, Adam, lose my number. Lose my number. Adam, you know you're in trouble when everyone has a call block on their phone.
Why is nobody's numbers?
Yeah, it's like why I can't get through, right? It's like Adam, blocked number.
Everybody busy.
Yeah, everyone's busy. No one's picking up the phone, and everyone's like on, you know, make sure you block Adam's phone number. Let me give it to you in case you see this number. Just block it even before you pick up the phone, you know? Do you think I killed his inspiration for speculation? I hope so. Now what are you going to do? Now what's your service?
Chanting and taking prasadam.
Chanting and taking prasadam. Prasad, that part you got. Now it's got to be the chanting part. Angel, Siberia. I hope you have some warm socks, my friend. No warm socks? They'll knit you some out of wool. You need wool socks. I have an extra pair I'll give you. All right, I think that's enough. I hope you got some benefit out of that. What are you going to do? What's your job? Huh?
I left the job.
You need to find another job, right? Don't you have a sister who also has some problem? Doesn't your mother, father need help? So why you're not there helping your mother and your father? And your sister? Wasn't that the plan? You cannot escape that responsibility. You just came for a few days to hear me, right? And then you plan to go back and take responsibility? Good. That will be good for you. That will make you be a man. That'll make you more matured, more stable. Be devotee, but handle your responsibility. Grow up. Become stable, responsible person. Okay? You cannot hide in the ashram. That's not helping you. That will not help you. All right? Is that clear? 100%? All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate it. Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Gaur Govinda Swami, Srila Gurudev ki, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Gaura Premanande.
Srila Gurudev ki.
Prabhupada Gurudev ki.